I spoke at the top of the show about the importance of men getting on top of their health, and often it's left to their partners to push them into it. That was the case for Tim O'Neill, who, after losing his dad to prostate cancer, was diagnosed with the same disease just a few months later at the age of 41. He was a dad of 4 children. He and wife Carly join me now, and I thank them both so much for sharing their story. Tim, talk to me first about the moment you found out that you had prostate cancer.
Yeah, thanks, Erin. 41 years old after Dad died. As you mentioned, my wife Carly, she encouraged me to go through the process of getting tested to find out about prostate cancer, a disease I knew very little about. And over a 4-month process, Erin, an initial PSA test, a long wait of 3 months for the next test. I came back with a second high reading of PSA and indeed was diagnosed with prostate cancer at that young age of 41.
What was it like to hear those words from a doctor, and take me back to that moment when you got that call?
Oh, Erin, it stopped my world and my family's world. 41 years old. I could take you to the exact spot as I mentioned to you before. On the couch at our house in Toowoomba, 8 o'clock at night, I had a missed call on my phone and a message from someone called Peter. And when I asked my wife, well, why would someone called Peter be ringing me this time at night? And she said, that's the cancer specialist, you should ring him back. And sure enough, that's when he told us on the spot there that, I use the word we because it was such a big thing for both of us to go through, that I had been diagnosed with prostate cancer at that point.
How old were your kids?
And we had to act.
And how did you tell them?
So Ava was 9, our oldest little girl. And then the 3 boys, Jimbo was, I think he just was 3 or 4, he's only young. And in between there, obviously, and we were very open with them straight up. We said, this is a journey we all got to go on together. It's a hard thing to tell your children that night after we composed ourselves, but then to have your little 9-year-old daughter just throw her arms around me and say, everything's going to be all right, Daddy. And it had to be, Erin, from that point. Away we went with some great care, great help, and we got the job done.
You've spoken to me before about the fact that you didn't handle that particularly well, which is so understandable. How did you handle facing, the prospect of having to leave your wife and your children?
Oh, Erin, I buried my head in the sand to a degree. I shut myself down. I only told those really, really close to me. And then I went on and it was a horrible, horrible ride of emotion, of mental unwellness, I suppose. And I was just so lucky that those I had around me, including my loving wife, Carly, were there to keep me on track and to get through it.
Carly, I'll bring you in now. So hard for you to go through. I know firsthand how it feels for families to go through this. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't pushed him to go and get checked?
Oh, I'd hate to think, Erin. It's just too scary, to be honest. The pathology, when it came back, was meant to be very small. And like Tim, I think, just said, the doctor came in and he was really silent. There was a really somber mood because it had initially been, we're just being really proactive. But in the 6 weeks between the diagnosis and the surgery, it had grown so much. It is really, really scary.
What would you say to other wives and partners of men who might not be doing all they can to get themselves checked and to take their health seriously?
Take them to the doctor. It's just a blood test. It's just an extra box on a pathology form. I would just recommend going in, accompanying maybe to the doctor, and just get tested. It's just a blood test.
Tim, there were other elements that you were worried about, and you've spoken to me before about the fact that it's an old man's disease, but it's actually not. What were the other challenges that you faced?
As we did more research and the side effects, obviously, once your prostate's gone, that's reproduction for you, and there's through the recovery process, there's impotence, there's incontinence, there's all those things that men, we don't want to talk about, you know, that these things that make you a man, as we say. But it's a lot better than the other option. Ruth, the educator of the It's the Blokes thing, one of her great comments is when people complain and are worried about the impotence side of it, and she'll always reply to them, well, the dead man doesn't have to worry about his sex life.
I mean, it's like, how do you laugh at a time like that? But sometimes when you're facing what you guys were facing, laughing's the only way you get through it, right?
Oh, you have to, and as we told you there, like the one point during when we're having all the conversations with the doctor, when the doctor said, look, you know, we'll have to talk about reproduction, and that is the one point that we laughed through in the consult, because, you know, we already had 4 lovely children, and we certainly didn't need any more, and maybe the world didn't either need any more little O'Neill kids.
Very quickly, you both travel the country. Tim, you in particular go around and spread this message to blokes, and you do such a brilliant job. I was so blessed to be on a panel with you a couple of weeks ago, and we raised $1.5 million for prostate cancer, and It's a Bloke thing, which is just brilliant. I want to thank you both so much for spreading the word, sharing your message, and joining me here on Erin.
Erin, an absolute pleasure, and something I'm so proud to be involved in, and to have Carly by my side.
Yeah, they are incredible, aren't they?